Oh, hi. I'm just pretending to play pinball because I need an introduction. Yeah, so here's my new workshop, my first actual pinball video in my new workshop. Focus Chicken has returned, but Focus Chicken is now armed with a camera. I don't know how useful that will be, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. Maybe I can put it somewhere and kind of go, look at that. Or maybe just do what I usually do and do another, I don't know, whatever. So yeah, so this video is going to be slightly different because I already shot all my footage and now I have to reshoot my footage. So I wanted to finish up the video on troubleshooting this high hand and why it wouldn't start. It had a few other issues to it that I sort of filmed and troubleshooted the process and filmed me fixing those things up until we got it to pretty much work. It still has some problems, but I shot the footage, a couple of cameras. I took the footage up to my computer to edit it together, and most of my audio was just screwed up. Right, I guess I should have said before you check your fuses, make sure the machine is off, unplug it. I actually I wear a wireless mic pack, and the lav mic that I was using, I've had it for a long time. It's a really good mic, but the cable, the little jack that plugs into the pack, it was starting to get broken down, and so all of my audio is super scratchy, and sometimes it just was terrible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the steps and pretend like I'm fixing it. I'll be able to use some of the footage that I had before, but where the audio isn't so bad. So you can kind of see the steps that I was taking, and then we'll just sort of kind of muddle our way through until we cobble together a video that is hopefully worth watching. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, so I guess we can just jump into it. So I thought before I started working on this machine, I thought I would kind of go through and look at all of the cables and the fuses and everything else that I do when I first get a machine, especially an older EM machine. I'm looking for frayed wires, I'm looking for broken solder points, I'm looking for anything that's visually apparent. I'm not worrying about switches or any of that stuff right now. I'm just kind of looking to see if anything jumps out at me that's wrong. So this machine, it was at my place in BC. I took it apart, I loaded it onto a shipping container, and then the shipping container was picked up from my house. It was dropped off at a storage facility for a while, and then it was picked up again, and then this machine in the container bounced its way all the way across Canada, and then it was dropped off here, and I took it. So it's been through a little bit more since the last time we played with it. So I just want to make sure that there was nothing new that had come up. I had given this machine a really quick once over, and I'm not going to lie, I know that there were a few problems with it, but I wanted to show the process of how we troubleshoot the startup problems. So I was going to kind of walk through those as we discovered them. And that would have been this video, which I'm now making. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is I just get a voltmeter that has continuity test so that when these two probes touch, it beeps. And I go through and I check all of the fuses. If you watched my shipmates video on the Gottlieb shipmate, whatever, it's a shipmates one, you can find it, or I'll link to it, or I'll put the link down there. There were some lights or something that was out, and I had looked at the fuses, but I didn't actually test them because the fuse had actually come apart, and that's why it wasn't working. So what I like to do is I will pop the fuse up, if I can, like that. I disconnect it from the fuse holder, and then I just check it and make sure that I have continuity. Sometimes when you look at these fuses, they look fine, but they're actually not. So I went through the whole machine and I checked the fuses. There's 4 here, and then there's 4 on the playfield. So I checked all those were fine. So comically, I started digging into this a little bit more, and I noticed this. No lights on my back box. I don't remember if it was like that before. Let's check. Put a ball in. Let's see what happens. So the lights come on the back box.
Still doesn't work.
Quiet, you. So I spent some time kind of troubleshooting, like maybe this was a new problem that developed. And I was checking continuity from the GI from inside the cabinet up to the back box, thinking that maybe it was a problem there. I was checking the Jones plugs on the back box, thinking maybe it was a problem there. Like I toned a whole bunch of stuff out. And then it occurred to me, like, maybe I should go back and check the fuses. And it was the fuse. So down here, these two fuses, and I don't remember which is which, and of course the label has fallen off, but one of these fuses is for the general illumination on the playfield, and the other one is for the illumination on the back box. So when I had popped the fuse out, I think it was actually this one. When I popped the fuse out, this holder is all corroded and gross, and so when I popped it back down, it just wasn't making a good connection. So keep that in mind. So after I checked the fuses, I wanted to go through and look at all the wires that are connected to the switch stacks. Commonly what I've seen in the past is maybe the soldering point has broken and the wire is just hanging. Sometimes on coils or something, since these vibrate, sometimes a wire will actually just break right beyond the solder point, wherever it's soldered onto, and it's just kind of dangling there. So I wanted to look at that. And I got in here and I started looking around at these switch stacks here. I don't usually mess around with the switches. I'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm just kind of poking around, looking. And then back here on this, some sort of bonus wheel. I actually don't know this game that much and the rules or anything. I'm just trying to get it running. This is some sort of bonus collector dealabob. These wires had all broken. That wire is disconnected. This wire is disconnected. That one's okay. That one is gone. So these little connectors, they have that's why you don't work on the machine when it's on. Where was I? So these little connectors, these are on little spring-loaded pins, because there's a contact point back here, and there's a contact point in there, and this thing has to rotate, so these kind of ride over the contact points. So all of these little wires had broken. So I fixed that. I don't think that was responsible for the startup issue, but sometimes these machines are a little bit of a rabbit hole, and you start digging into them and you keep finding little problems. It's entirely possible that you have several of these problems and they accumulate into the startup issue. In this case, I don't think so, but it couldn't have hurt. When I fixed that, I didn't start the machine to see if it was a problem because I didn't think it was, but I could test that. I could block all of those and see if it actually stops the game from restarting or not. Anyway, so then I fixed that, and then I decided to move into the back box and do the same thing, looking for singed wires or disconnected things, whatever. So I found this. Here, we have a little burn mark on the wood, and this wire right here, all of the insulation on the wire is gone. It's in half, and the wire picks up over here somewhere. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so that's a problem. So that wire was the problem, but I didn't know where it went. And I don't have the schematics for this machine. So I put a continuity test. I put one probe on this wire, and then I just sort of touched around in here to see if I could figure out where the heck that went. And it actually went up to this coil and switch stack up here labeled N. So commonly on these machines, you'll have a stack of switches, and those correlate to the score reels up here. Now I don't have the schematics, but I do have the operator guide, and it does give me a list of which, each one of these are stacks are labeled, and it tells me, so N goes to the 10-point relay, which is this one. I don't actually remember if that was working or not. I don't know when this singe happened, if it happened when I first fired up the game here, if it happened before. I didn't remember seeing it before. So I repaired that wire, and I was registering 10 points, so I fixed the problem there. But I still don't think that was the startup issue, because if this was still stuck at 0 during startup, then whether or not this fired didn't make a difference, because this was already reset back to where it's supposed to be. So I don't think that was the problem. So as I was looking back here, when I thought that the lights going out on the back box was related to something here, I started toning out wires to make sure that, okay, where does that power go to in the Jones plug? And then do I have a break somewhere along here that's causing these lights to not go on? And it led me to this little gizmo here on this side. This relay is listed as 0 to 90 unit relay. And so what this is, I wasn't actually sure what it was at first. And I had to actually kind of sort out what it was. So there's a little contact point here, and then there's a contact pad, and it happens on both sides. And this cycles around in circles and makes connections to various points along the way. So it's sort of just sort of a continuous stepper. And we were getting some disconnects there, so I had fixed that and got it so that the power was going from this Jones plug up to here and was making a connection. And then I went back and I looked, and this actually, when you hit the pop bumper, it cycles a feature around to various switches on the playfield. That's all that does. So the fact that that was disconnected, this doesn't ever reset. So the fact that this doesn't reset leads me to believe that probably wasn't our problem either. I got it working well enough, but I still need to take this assembly apart because it still sticks as it cycles through. Not very smooth. So I need to just clean that all out and put it all back together again. The ball count unit, this stepper unit seems fine. It's really filthy, so that needs a cleaning. I was actually going to include that as part of the video this video, but I've already cleaned stepper units on a previous video. This one's slightly different than the other ones that I was cleaning, so I might just do that in its own video of how to clean the ball count unit on a Gottlieb or something. If you want to see that video, leave something in the comments that just says, yeah, do the ball cleaning video. No, that's not what we want. You don't want a video on cleaning balls. You want a video on cleaning the ball count unit on a Gottlieb machine. So don't tell me you want to see a video of cleaning balls. Yeah, anyway. So then that was all that I could really find wrong with it. So I did notice that I could manually start the game. Let's do that actually. So I've stuck one of the score reels, and so this game will cycle. So I guess I had it on. So we'll start the game. This is just going to sit and cycle. So it's not getting the signal right now from the 1000 score reel. This is the reset completed relay, and I'll just trigger that. The game is reset and ready to go. So we'll pretend there's a ball, kicks the ball, goes across this one, which is the ball trough sensor switch or whatever. Now my flippers work and everything works. Because I can get that far, I could start going through and testing and making sure that everything was cycling right, it was scoring right, everything was going right. All the all the drop down targets reset during the process. Everything looked fine. So that actually took me back to the score reel, and I guess I could have filmed this earlier. Let me spin the game around again and show you what I found. So I came back to the score reels and I gave those another look. I don't know if from the last time we looked at that, if this problem developed since then, or if it was kind of teetering on the edge of being part of the problem back then. But I actually missed something when I did this before. I checked my switch stacks to make sure that they were making the right connection. What I didn't do is I didn't clean them. So, and that was part of the problem. So you take your little flexible emery type thing that I forget, I don't know what this stuff is called. You can use sandpaper or something like that. And you just get in between the two switches and you clean your contact points. Down here, there's another switch. So we have hold on, let me get this going here. So you have your position switches up here. And then underneath, there's another switch right there. And what that is that's sort of like kind of like an end of stroke switch on a flipper. When the coil cycles, get in a position I can do this. When the coil cycles, if you can see it, that little lever right there pushes down and disconnects the coil, so it knows that it's been energized and you no longer need to energize it to let it pop back into place. That's the idea of that switch. It's so it doesn't just hang on and burn out. So on this particular one, that actually wasn't making I had to adjust the switch to get a better contact. Probably not the problem, but it was a problem that needed to be fixed. The other thing that's going on with these is that they're so sticky that as they cycle through, sometimes they'll get kind of stuck like right here, and they don't snap all the way into place. And just that amount of being not all the way down is enough to disconnect those switches. So if it's not sitting where it needs to be, those switches aren't where they need to be. So I took this apart and I gave it a quick cleaning, not a super clean, but just enough to get it to cycle. And the game started. This needs a much deeper cleaning. I just did it really, really quick just to see if I could get it to reset on its own. But sometimes if this is on like 8, when I start the game, it doesn't advance. So it really needs to be taken apart and cleaned. So that's another video that I can do. If you want to see a video on not washing balls, but on a video about how to clean the score reels of a Gottlieb EM machine, leave a note in the comment and I'll do that one next. I need to do this anyway, so maybe I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just make a video on that. So at the end of the day, this machine is cycling through. It is working. It's, as you can tell, it's kind of grubby and it really needs a good thorough cleaning. And then after that, everything should be working perfectly fine. Once I give this a good thorough cleaning, then it shouldn't start up every single time that I start it, I guess. Hopefully. Right, so we solved the mystery of the non-starting Gottlieb's High Hand. Ultimately, what do I think it was? I think it was probably that the contacts on the 1000 reel weren't making a good connection, and the machine didn't know that they were touching. I adjusted them, they were touching, but I think ultimately that's what it came down to, was that just there wasn't a circuit being made through it. It could have possibly been the wire that was disconnected. I don't have the schematics like I mentioned, so I don't know if that wire being connected and going up to the 10 is related to it knowing that it's reset. It's very possible that maybe it was the 10 reel that was the problem. But with these machines, you go down the rabbit hole, you fix everything that you find, and sometimes the problem just resolves itself because it's a collection of a bunch of different problems. And I wish that I had a more concrete answer for you. But it was probably the score reels, not anything else. Maybe the wire. I don't know. Whatever. So the next video that I'm going to make is probably going to be cleaning this one. But you know, I also have another project, which is this Jackbot under wraps over here. Completely filthy machine. It's in pretty good shape, but some stuff is broken on it, but it's a pretty good machine, but the playfield is disgusting. Like, it hasn't been cleaned in 30 years or however. It probably has never been cleaned. So I want to make a video on how I sort of systematically go through a playfield that's more complex than something like this. How I break it down, how I clean it, how I put it back together, how I keep notes on all of that. So the next video that I make, I'm going to let you guys figure out which one it is. Do you want to see the score reel one? Or do you want to see me tearing apart the Jackbot and working on that? That will probably be a couple of videos. This will be a video. Stepper unit for the wash my ball video. That's a separate video. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, and I'll do that one next. I don't have anything else to say. In fact, I'm having problems saying anything at all. So I think I'll end it there. Oh, one final note. This is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I don't usually do call outs for, you know, smash the buttons of whatever. Just because I don't think it does any good. But I used to say, you know, click the subscribe button if you want to, kind of thing. Well, enough of you wanted to. We are just going to hit the 2,000 mark, which for a stupid little pinball video like mine, I think that's awesome that I'm doing these dumb little videos and you guys are like, hey, it's useful. I like them. So thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed and you feel like subscribing, that would be swell. But it's up to you. You guys do what you want. You smash buttons or don't smash buttons. It's up to you. Anyway, so that is the end of the video. Goodbye. Thank you. See you later.